Hey guys, Caitlin here. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how I have done my long-term planning, a very loose long-term planning for this school year. So my first 2 years of homeschooling, I didn't really plan out the school year, like how many days or how quickly we were going to get through our curriculum or anything like that. I was just kind of getting my feet wet with homeschooling. And so I just opened our books on the first day of school and we just worked through them until we got done. Towards the end of the year, I would kind of look ahead and say, okay, we have this many days left till we finished, our requirements for our state, and we have this many lessons left. Like, do we need to double up on some lessons if I want to get it done? Are we going to get to finish early? I would look ahead a little bit towards the very end, but I did not do it from the beginning. So first of all, I just want to tell you that's okay. So if you are a brand new homeschooler and you're watching this video and you're like, I can't even comprehend this much, that is okay. Just open your books and start, because you're not getting behind. Like, behind who? It doesn't matter how quickly you go or how slowly you go. So don't get overwhelmed. But if you're like me and maybe you want a little bit of structure, or you've been homeschooling for a couple of years and you're ready to try to make it a little bit more planned out or whatever, I'm just going to share what I've done this year. And again, it's still very, very loose. I found that for my personality, if I've got it too planned out, then I struggle to be flexible. And if something pops up and we're not able to do school on a day that I had designated as a school day, it stresses me out. Of course, if I'm not structured at all, then it's easy to just be like, oh, we'll get to it at some point. So I kind of like this happy middle ground of a little bit of structure, like some guidelines, and then, but a lot of wiggle room, right? So what I did this year is I first went online and Googled free calendar printable or something like that. And I printed out a calendar that starts with August and goes through May of next year. And I just set my printer settings so that it printed 4 to a page, but I wanted to have the whole year at a glance right in front of me. So I do have a homeschool planner. I've done videos on this before. And it has monthly spreads, and it does have a year at a glance, but it's really small. It looks like this. So not really enough room for me to write in the boxes. So I just wanted something that would be kind of an in-between that I could scribble on. It didn't matter if I made mistakes, whatever. So that's what I did. So I just went online, I printed this off. And then I started kind of dividing up the year into chunks. So in our state, we actually have a certain amount of hours instead of days. However, I just went ahead and went with 180 days. So that would be a nice round number. It'd be easier to just quickly plan out the school year. 180 is more than we need. That's more than what our local school system even does. But that was just a nice even number to play with, because half of that is 90 and then a quarter of that is 45. And so I kind of divided our year up into 45-day quarters. All right. So I looked ahead to December, and I knew that I wanted to take these 2 weeks around Christmas off. I just wanted to block them off and say, we're not doing school. I mean, we might end up doing some learning things that will count, but we're just not going to plan on doing any school. And I'd really like to use the first, all of December, to do some unit studies and take off from our normal language arts and our normal math curriculum and I'm calling it Christmas school. I don't know what that's gonna look like yet. I just really want to do that this year and make it a fun, special unit study type, chase a rabbit trail to something else we're interested in type thing in December. So I kind of made a note of that. So I then started counting from when we started school and the end of December, and found that middle, which was around 45-ish days, right? So from the beginning of the school year to when we're ending in December, I wanted it to be about 90 days. And so I counted to find where the middle is, and I have wiggle room on both sides, so that's fine. I just kind of found the middle, the midpoint, which for us was in mid-October. So I marked that on my calendar as that was the first quarter. I went ahead and marked our CC community days. We do school those days, but we don't do our like at home math and language arts those days. So when I'm counting out my days for those two curriculums, which I'll share in a second, I wanted to factor that in. So the next thing that I did is marked off any other things. I marked off when I thought we would take a vacation. I did the same thing for the spring where I marked off like if we get through 90 days before December, then what would be the next 45 days? That would be our third quarter, and then 45-ish more days after that. That would be the end of the school year theoretically. So I marked those. Here's my halfway point. Here's my 3/4 of the way point in March. And then I've got my end date in May. So after I'd done that, then I did the same thing and divided up my curriculum. So my boys, my second grader uses Right Start Math level C, and he uses Logic English level D, and my kindergartner is in Right Start Math level A, and right now is in Logic English A, and he'll do that the first half of the year and then B the second half of the year. So I took those books and I looked at how many lessons. So for example, Right Start Math A has 132 lessons. So I divided that in half and then in half again, so that I had how many lessons would be a quarter of the book. I did the same with Right Start Math level C that has 140 lessons, so divided it in half and then in half again. Same with Logic of English. I knew that my kindergartner would probably get through A in the fall semester and B in the spring semester, so I didn't have to really divide it. I just knew that there's 40 lessons in each book. And then for Logic of English D, same thing. I took the number of lessons, divided it in half and in half again. So I wrote all of those numbers up here at the top just so that I would remember kind of what my goal was. And then I went down here to where October is going to be roughly we're a quarter of the way through the year. And so I wrote down what our goal would be. So I wrote down at the top here of October, Right Start Math, we would want to be through, in level A for my kindergartner, we would want to be through lesson 33. And for him, for Logic of English A, we would want to be through lesson 20. In Right Start Math level C, we would want to be through lesson 35. And then in Logic of English D, this is for my second grader, we would want to be through lesson 130. And so that kind of gives me a goalpost that I'm working towards, that when we get to the quarter of the year, that I would roughly, theoretically like to be around those. Now, if we're a little bit behind, that's fine, because I'm gonna go at my kids' pace. If we're ahead, great. That'll give us more wiggle room later in the year if we need to slow down for other things or to do Christmas school like I talked about, that kind of stuff. So I did that with our quarter of the year, and then I went ahead and did it with our half of the year. So when we are done in December, I wrote down where we want to be in Right Start Math A and Logic of English A and Right Start Math C and Logic of English D. So again, I have those numbers in mind. And so that has been really helpful, because as we've been going along, I can kind of like look ahead and say, okay, we are about 3 weeks out from our quarter of the year. How are we doing? Well, we've already reached our Right Start Math A goal. When we started the school year, my kindergartner was flying through that beginning stuff because he has listened in on his older brother, and so he already knew a lot of it. And so we would do 2 to 3 lessons every single day, and so we really front loaded and got through a bunch of it. And so we are past the quarter of the way mark already in September. And then our other ones, both of the Logic of English and then my second graders, Right Start Math D, we haven't hit those marks yet, but we still have a couple of weeks, and it looks like we'll be right on track. And again, it doesn't matter if we're not, okay? So I want to emphasize that it doesn't matter, but it does kind of help me to pace myself and to plan things out. And for me, it just gives me a little bit more structure. And I really like that with having this is my first year to have 2 kids that I'm doing school with at once, to just kind of know that we're in the ballpark of where I want to be with my planning. And then, like I said, lots of wiggle room, lots of grace if we need to change things up, take things slower, go faster. And if we, speed through something, then maybe we'll start the next level during this school year. So, it's really flexible, but it just breaking it, like splitting all the lessons in half and then half again and fitting that into where our quarters would be roughly, that kind of just gives me like one chunk at a time to make a goal. Like we're gonna try to get through this amount in this set of time and then this amount in this set of time, instead of just going the whole entire school year having no idea, like, are we halfway through the book? Are we a third of the way through the book? I have no idea. And then we get to the end and I'm trying to like make sure we can fit it all in. So anyway, that's all. I just wanted to share that in case that was helpful for you. Like I said, I'd never sat down and done that before. In the previous 2 years, this took me, maybe 30 minutes to just kind of map it out. But it has been really helpful just like to help my brain feel like, okay, we're doing good, we're on track, I know like kind of my goals, that kind of stuff, instead of just floating along out there like with no plans. So anyway, that's all. Quick little explanation there. I just wanted to share in case that was helpful for you guys. If you have a way that you plan that you want to share in the comments, please share. Maybe you plan every single day, maybe you don't plan at all. It's all fine. It's the beauty of homeschooling. We get to do what we want to do, but that was just kind of my method for this year. So anyway, that's all.